And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I have a laptop that I've been using for a little while, and some of you know that I enjoy using it because I didn't have to pay very much for it. And apparently the free software that I've been using on it has something that's making it not work. It's breaking, and I figured out where that problem resides. I just don't know how to fix it, which is annoying because normally I use Ubuntu Linux on it. Ubuntu says each version of our system is based on the year. That's the number. So I was using 24 because that came out last year. I've reverted back to 18 because that one's still being supported. Don't ask, don't make me tell. Part of this follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I would like to believe that one right now, but man, this is pissing me off with this thing. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. Yeah, it's me. We're back. Did you miss me? Anything important happen while I was gone? Speaking of which, over on the left coast right now, joining from earlier in the timeline, apparently, IOCloud. Good evening. How you doing?
Oh, I'm just enjoying the fruits of my Instapot. So I'm going to be mute a lot because I don't think that anybody would like to hear me going slurp, 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 gulp, slurp, slurp.
There's a joke in there.
Shut up. The meat is falling apart and it's perfect and the potatoes are perfect and I'm a happy woman right now.
Yeah. The joke is not what you think it is because I was about to tell you that you saying that it was your what pot?
Instapot.
Yeah, a lot better than the pot that I saw coming through the shop this past week. That says at the beginning of it, Nettie. So that went straight into the garbage bin because no, thank you.
That's technically a medical device. Technically. That's what I think it is.
Technically, it's a nice, easy way of getting brain-eating bacteria into your brain.
It's also a very nice way of trying to drown yourself.
Effectively. So let's not do that, shall we? So we're expecting, or at the very least hoping, that UnrenownedTech would be joining us. I don't know. I didn't hear from him. However, we did hear from Brigid that she's busy. She's busy sleeping very, very hard because work and stress and stressful work. So
we hope she's sleeping very, very hard.
Yeah, true.
She might not be able to sleep.
Yeah, because reasons and yeah, not really thrilled about that. But Brigid, if you listen after the fact,
we love you.
And you wimp. She knows full well that I'd be joking about it and she'd be having a good laugh. And I know that she's also plotting a revenge on me at this point, so
yep.
Go me, I suppose.
And I'll help her.
I believe that. So if you'd like to be part of this and you'd like to participate in workplace violence, feel free to join us while we record over here on YouTube. And you can be part of the collection over there in the live chat, which at the moment includes Stephanie, who apparently is trusting the technological gods. You want to go ahead and you want to tempt the great god Murphy? That's perfectly fine by me. I only believe in one god. His name is Murphy, and being that I'm technically versed, I trust and believe in the great god Murphy, because if there's going to be a god out there that's going to be capricious, he's the one. Ask any IT person, they will tell you they believe in the great god Murphy as well. Some have even had to sacrifice blood to him. after cutting themselves, after trying to rip apart a network wall and server rack.
I have two gods. One is Murphy, and the other one is Calgon. Calgon, take me away.
You could have just stopped at away. That's just me there, isn't it? No. Yeah, I think I'm projecting just a little bit.
Just a little. I'm gonna go back to enjoying my food.
You do that. You can do that for the next 5 minutes. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
Perfectly reasonable. That being the case, let's go ahead and get you rolling over here. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. CHRACKS. CHRACKS. How did you read it? It doesn't really much matter. This is written improperly for a reason. I was going to talk about the cracks that seem to be happening in the Fascist Party of America. And I'm going to call it that for the time being because it's accurate. In this case, I'm referring specifically to the American Republican Party, capital R, Republican. And we very much like to believe that there are cracks happening in the groups, the peoples, the voter blocks, the ones who are supposed to be, you know, tried and true, actual Americans. No. There are things that are happening at the upper echelons, and they are very much illegal. Now, I say illegal in the very technical term, meaning they are not supported by law. Matter of fact, in some cases, they're even contravened by those very same laws. Now, whether or not they're going to be ignored for being illegal orders or not remains to be seen. We're, of course, hoping. But that also brings up the small problem of those that are more versed in the law, those who actually have some kind of a clue as to what's supposed to be going on. The ones who are supposed to disregard illegal orders are the ones that are, well, there are some little peaks that are happening out through the facade where maybe, just maybe, they kind of see how bad things are. That maybe, just maybe, they will actually do something about it. And I say very maybe. But the problem of it is what I'm seeing. It's probably a little bit different from what some others are seeing. And my opinion, and of course because it is opinion, could very easily just be wrong. Matter of fact, I can almost guarantee it is, because I am not versed in politics. I am what you might call a layperson. And after I get done with the show tonight, trust me, I'm going to be laying down quite heavily. Could really use it. But what I'm talking about in this case is that I believe what I am seeing right now in the overall palette that is the Republican Party's palette right now. I believe what I'm seeing is a mad scramble that's going on very quietly, very, very scurrying, if you will. Rats leaving the boat isn't quite apt, but it's more along the lines of I'm seeing positioning happening. Is it because they're concerned about the health and welfare of great leader? I don't know. That's a maybe. Are they concerned that he might be ousted? Therefore, they all get a promotion and they then have to scramble to consolidate power better for themselves. Again, I'm not sure. It's entirely possible that what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling out of all this, is this weird G7 chord, the sus 4 chord that's going on, the Pickering third that's happening. In musical terms, this is the chord before the resolution of a phrase, where you've got that pull that makes you want the resolution to finally have happen. That's what I'm feeling. And I'm not sure where it's going to be going, but that's what I'm seeing from those who are in institutionalized power. And part of that is being bolstered by the people who are starting to yell and scream, who've said, I voted for you, and sure, I voted for this, but I didn't vote for what's happening to me by having you vote for this. So there's stuff. The stuff that's happening. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this ends up playing out. Because if there's one thing that we've learned from old anything that shatters, as opposed to the new, it'll usually end up breaking into pieces that want to find nice, warm, squishy places to embed themselves into. I can't wait to find out what that's going to look like. Yeah, no, it sounds a little on the weird side, but like I said, as the next couple of months come out, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this all plays out. We'll have to wait and see. So, young Ms. Io, how are you feeling for having to speak again? Are you feeling up to it at this moment?
Tech.
First off, too loud. Second, so loud you kind of, I don't know, what's the word that I'm looking for? Clipped out.
Tech. Yay, tech.
That worked out better. UnrenownedTech joining us from the right-hand coast. Good morning.
Hey, mic check.
Yeah, check is in the mail. You're a little on the low side, but I can work with that. How you doing?
Hold on, I'm having to use a different microphone, so let me change the placement.
Uh-huh.
How about now? Is it better?
It's about the same. Like I said, I can work with that. I can move it around, and I can make things work. As soon as I can grab all of the pieces that I'm looking for. Hello, look at that. So how you doing? It's good to see you. I've missed you.
I've been busy, tired, exhausted, drained, and a bunch of other things.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. That all comes up on the screen too, doesn't it? Well, that's all right. Talk to me a couple seconds while I adjust your volume here.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well,
5,
that's interesting.
6.
I've got you at full tilt, which means Io, don't you say a word. Tech, say hi again one more time.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Good.
4, 5.
Which means Io, I take you down a little bit. You should be fine. Say hi.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. What the?
That works out. Good.
Docious.
No, it's docious aliexpiasticfragicalirupus, and you cannot tell me any different.
I'm enjoying myself. I'm eating garlic I roasted in that Instapot. And it's not just the individual cloves, it's that entire bundle. I cut off the top, peeled some.
Yeah, we call that the bulb.
Yeah, the bulb. I threw that all in. And not just one, but 3 of them. Because I love roasted garlic.
Who
Yeah,
doesn't?
basically made garlic confit.
Sounds about right. So now that you're here,
Speaking of interesting things,
is...
did you know if you're for those of people who are a fan of Hidden Valley Ranch dressing, as well as their seasoning, they have joined partnership with Hot Pocket. and Hot Pocket made a Hidden Valley Ranch pepperoni Hot Pocket. Now, it doesn't have a marinara in it, and it doesn't have Hidden Valley dressing in it. Hot Pocket put in the mozzarella, the pepperoni, but they made their own, essentially bechamel sauce, their own recipe, and then they added the Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning powder blend to it to season that sauce. And they put a little bit in the dough as well. And it came out almost like a creamy white inspired pizza. And if you're a fan of ranch, it's very strong, very potent in ranch flavor, and it's very good because their pepperoni is also very strong flavored pepperoni, so it cuts through it. But that bechamel mixes with the mozzarella, and so it doesn't like have a pool of liquid coming out of it, like which would have happened if they had actually put ranch dressing in there.
That's fair.
And it's quite the kick in the face, man. It is a punch in the face of ranch flavor. So I'm expecting to see this on that Cowphobia YouTube channel where the guy absolutely loves everything ranch. I'm waiting for him to discover this in the grocery store and like watch him squee.
You mean the big guy that pours the ranch on everything? I love that guy.
Yeah. He pours ranch on stuff he doesn't like to see if it makes it taste better, and most of the time it's like,
yeah,
dude, I could have told you that was going to happen, man.
I don't know.
Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't. It's sort of like tzatziki sauce or some of the Alfredo sauce or some of the other sauces. Sometimes it makes it taste better. Sometimes it makes it tolerable. Sometimes, well, sorry, Mr. Chef, I'm not going to eat that.
Sometimes you roll in that one.
Yep.
Which is a perfect lead-in now.
Right now, I'm rolling a 20.
So it's going to be time for the horrible scopes. So for those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. And if not, you can, like mentioned, you can go ahead and roll yourself a d12 and personally just select one for yourself and make it up as you go along. And by the way, if you recently purchased a d12 so you could make it more interesting, please consider putting it in the freezer for a couple of days. Just make sure it's not a mimic egg in disguise, just in case. And I bring that up because I was out at Fredonia today. Heart of the game, Fredonia is no more. I have a couple of pictures. I will see about adding that to the Discord channel so that folks can take a look at that later. However, I did get to speak to the Mimic Wrangler because he was there with a couple of guys finishing cleaning up the place. He sends his regards. He is very grateful to hear that, we were all sad to hear that the place is gone. He also let me know that somebody had been in contact and was looking to buy a D12 or more. Unfortunately, he had already gone through his inventory, so he didn't have any to send, or he said just send it to them as opposed to like purchase, which, big time high on that. The horrible scopes, however, are going to continue going because, I'm sorry, I refuse to let Heart of the Game's memory die. I'm that kind of personality. And to that end, since the Mimic has found its way out, we're going to be trying to track it as the months go on, so we'll see how this plays out. So I do have the first report, which takes us over to Chicago, Illinois. Vicky V, out there in Chicago, let us know. The Mimic has apparently been spotted taking on the guise of a 1980s black and white police cruiser with a large bullhorn speaker strapped to the roof. Fortunately, can't independently corroborate it this time. The account Vicky sent in has requested anonymity on the report. Okay, folks, if you're going to be sending in reports about the Mimic and you would like anonymity, please mark that at the beginning of your report for next time. Sorry, I guess. So this week's horrible scopes were suggested by someone who has a keen sense of irony. How about a list of furry types for each sign? Well, since there wasn't already a theme in mind going into this week, we're going to run with this one. Should be fun, right? I mean, after all, how bad could it be, right?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, Aries, the only correct answer to that question is, haven't we learned not to use that expression? Your furry type is controversial in several ways, and fans of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, aka MLP Gen 4, aka Bronies and Pegasisters. First, of course, there's that whole, ew, it's all emasculated 20-something baby men who like girly shows complaint, which bypasses and denigrates the show's value as a wholesome teaching environment for children and adults alike. So this week, try to name another kids show that deals with serious topics like self-harm and cults in a 22-minute environment. Yeah, I bet you can't. Yeah, that show was worthy.
So Wayne's World?
Wayne's World was not 22 minutes.
An 8. Taurus, you're getting something that's not quite like the others, but one that suits your personality to a T. Instead of a singular type of furry, we're giving you a lump of them. The technically versed.
Now, you're going to see this fits him to a T also.
Yeah, I've already read about it. The furry community has a larger than base percentage of those who are neurodiverse, comprising many parts of the autism spectrum. That being said, there are far more people in technical careers than the so-called normies. So this week, we're going to explain more of these types in a minute, but know how valuable you and your furry cousins are between the biomedical, the computer, and networking technical, and the statistical technical. Your groups help maintain society in a way few could understand. You matter. Unless you're traveling at 186,000 miles per second, then you light. Waka waka waka!
That's joke. That's joke, people.
Hold on, let me roll charisma check. Shit, 2.
Gemini, let's cover one of those groups now, the medical area. Some know about the furries who helped with the pandemic immunization research. Others are now saying, what? How, what? So, yeah, furries have been part of medicine since time immemorial. Whatever. You've seen how plague doctors had bird-like masks? It's possible that some of them wore the outfits for fun instead of function. So this week, if you think you're smart, try asking your personal medical person if it's possible to freeze-dry blood platelets for long-term storage. Then watch their face when you tell them a furry figured out how to do it. Yeah, he was a great guy. We all miss you, man.
No. He's not dead. Just haven't seen him in a long time.
We still miss him.
It is true. It's very true. And yeah, when he told me about that the first time that I met him at Anthrocon, I was absolutely gobsmacked. Absolutely gobsmacked. Cancer Moonchild. There's a group of furries that a lot of other furries give a wide berth to. Therians. They're the ones with the stereotype that they don't believe that they're actually humans by species. This is not the same as how the more typical furry will role play as a non-human species character. So this week, how will you know if you're in the presence of a Therian? They'll let you know one way or another. So pay attention to your environment. It's trying to teach you something.
You're calling me out, aren't you?
I am not.
Good, because that's not my scope.
Leo, this one's nice and warm and fuzzy. There are friendships that last throughout changes in life, employment, living locations, or even bodily manipulation. But if there's one thing you can usually bet on, it's that you'll have a massive family of choice if you ever need it. The furry community, no matter the subtype, recognizes the need for community support and nurturing. Take as an example the situation in 2016 where a hotel hosted refugees from Syria while also hosting a furry convention called Vancouver. You see what they did there? Some of the fursuiters, basically mascot costumes, but better, which is the understatement of the year, help these families have a great time by playing with the kids. Imagine this a second. You're like 6 years old, fled your home due to war, in a strange place where you don't speak the language. But these giant living stuffed animals are right there, letting you pull them around or dance with you or hug you. So this week, the universal handshaking protocols for furries is a hug. Never dismiss the value of one and always ask a fursuiter first. They may not even know you're there.
Yeah. Virgo. That. The garlic is making my nose just drain out. Yum.
Yum
Yeah,
to
you
the
rolled a 1 on your charisma.
Yeah, just
yum to the garlic, not to the runny nose, right?
yes. Yum to the garlic.
Thank you.
The garlic and the meat and the taters and the juice. Okay, Virgo, speaking of fursuiters, you don't need one to be a furry, but it's cool if you have one. Roughly a quarter of furries have one. Many are homemade and some are professionally done and command a hefty price for it. And rightly so. Fursuiter makers are professionals who work hard to build a one-of-a-kind walking piece of art, custom fitted to a specific person's dimensions. So this week, if you think someone's price for a job is too high, break down what they want against what time they'll need to make it work. We're pretty sure you'll see that you're getting a fair deal, so stop complaining. And for the fursuiters, if the person complains, there's always the asshole tax, 20%.
That's true. Yeah, we talked about
And
that.
then
Cheap, fast, quality.
pick two.
Two.
Yeah, we talked about a couple of fursuit makers. They're amazing people. They really are. How some of them put up with the stuff that they have to. Damn. Just damn.
I'll tell you, when I do custom orders for anything at all, I don't do the whole cheap, fast, quality, pick two mentality. I do the pick one mentality. I want quality. I don't care how fast or, any of the other stuff. I want the quality. I'm willing to pay for the quality. And if the quality is out of my price range, I will wait until I have the price ready, that I can meet that price. And then I will let them do their thing. Because if I rush them, if I nag them, I'm not going to get what I'm actually paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that. And just one last item. As a personal note, although I know that she's probably never going to hear this one, Sarah, thank you. Y'all don't need to know. Just know that I'm still appreciative of her. Libra, just when you thought... I'm sorry, let me try this again. Just when you thought furries fell into easily defined groups... I can't get my voice down there as much as I'd like. We're going to make it everyone's problem to try to understand this one. And if I had to make this one difficult to understand for myself, I'm going to make it everybody else's problem. If you're a fan of feathered birds, regardless of their flight abilities, you're usually referred to as an avian. And if you like reptilian species, you'll usually be called a scaly. Now, here's the question. What would you call someone with a desire for pterosaurs? What we used to call pterodactyls. They're called pterosaurs. They'd fly like a bird or a bat, but they've got scales because they're oversized lizards. Lizards. Lizard. Lizard. Okay. So this week, language is how we describe concepts to someone else so that they can experience the same cognitive hallucination that we do. Open an old dictionary to a random page and just read them. Expand your vocabulary and impress the only person who actually matters in this case, you.
And as Richard Feynman, to paraphrase him, once said, as his father once told him, the names that we give things and the words that we call them don't define them. They demonstrate our own culture or the culture that's naming. It tells you more about that society and culture than it does about the item, the whatever it is that you're targeting. Scorpio, with only a few exceptions, furry characters fall into one of two physical categories: feral or anthro. Feral animal bodies are what we see every day, so a dog is a dog and a lion is a lion. But anthros are a more humanized version of them. So a dog could be Disney's Pluto, and a lion could be the cowardly lion from The Wizard of Oz. What makes all the difference in the world, though, is a small matter of mental ability. So this week, if you ever question your love interests with furry characters, just apply Captain Jack Harkness's test to see if it's suitable or cringeworthy. Oh God, that one. Yeah, that's cringe.
And there's always Dandelion. I love Dandelion. Cowardly Lion, Dandelion.
Oh, I thought you were talking about dandelion wine. I love dandelion wine.
That too. Sagittarius. Speaking of Captain Jack Harkness, the man who will go after anything with a postcode, it's super normal to find furries in science fiction settings all the time. We know that humans are just a differently evolved ape, so why couldn't there be differently evolved canines or equids, or even a starfish? The truth is, we have no way to know how likely it is for life, as we know it from life, Jim, as we know it, to form creatures who are on par with humanity, but based on a different body or even slightly different chemistry. So this week, have you ever looked into your pet's eyes and thought, what could they possibly be thinking? What if they're actually superior to you intellectually, but just letting you think you're better than you actually are? What if they're protecting you from themselves? And like I said last night, dogs have owners, cats have servants.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Capricorn, there are a number of stereotypes in the world of furries, and many, if not all of them, have some, let's just call them descriptive nomenclature. For instance, have you ever heard the term otter space? Much naughty artwork using this term makes you wonder if these characters have any internal organs at all. So this week, you've always wanted a stethoscope. Spend the extra money and get a good one for yourself. It'll help you track down that mouse in your walls. What do you mean this has got nothing to do with outer space whatsoever? No, we're not going to talk about that anymore. No. Nothing to see here.
Just make sure safe search is on.
Not going to help.
Aquarius.
Not going to help.
Aquarius. Yeah, no shit. Aquarius. There are other groups in the furry circles called micros and macros. And no, they aren't computerized characters like protogens. They are those who like smaller and larger characters, sometimes ridiculously sized. But there's a pairing with this worth mentioning. You know that dragons are usually large. Well, there aren't exactly smaller versions, but there kinda are. Kobolds. They're small, non-flying dragon cousins with a propensity for thievery. So this week, dogs go bark, birds go chirp, kobolds go yip. So if you step on a tail and you hear that, your wallet is now theirs. Good luck getting it back. Roll dexterity.
And never, ever, ever, ever feed a kobold, because you'll
7.
never get rid of them. Never, ever, ever. You'll never get rid of them. Pisces. The furry community is amazingly creative. There are original characters for nearly any species you can think of, ones for species that exist only in fiction, and ones that they created entirely from scratch. But one of the most perplexing ones is from Star Trek. Tribbles. Renowned for their incessant breeding while they devour any foods, because of course they're born pregnant, they will devour any foods around themselves at a near unbelievable rate while scaring off Klingons. But, and here's the weird part, in the furry fandom, there are only a handful of original characters based on them, instead of the expected millions by now. So this week, we here at Horrible Scope Central know that the original OG Tribble OC personality, and he's super disappointed in all of you for not having a Tribble OC of your own. Step up your game. It's not like he's the gatekeeper of all things Tribble either. After all, it's no Tribble at all.
Yeah, charisma roll. Ooh, nat 20. Everybody laugh. Ha 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 ha. That was great.
Roll another 20 to find out if I'm going to bite through somebody's Achilles tendon for laughing at me.
No, you got a 5. You're not you're missing.
Perfect. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you like what you got, more appropriately, if you didn't like what you got, no refunds, no backsies. We've already disseminated, so there's no way to get a refund on that one. So you stuck with what you got. Of course, if you'd like me to put some effort into it and you want to actually bribe me for, stuff, you can do that at the coffee page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have this posted at the end of the week as usual. Tumblr, Facebook, Coffee, Discord, BlueSky, and we will continue to use the hashtag Heart of the Game Fredonia because we are not going to let it die. Or more appropriately, I keep using the hashtag because I don't want to be changing anything. If anybody's got a problem with that, you can take it up with me later. 2038. This is episode 549 on the docket, Your Honor. Fiction teaches us all the truth. Let me go ahead and let me go ahead
Real
and
quick, is it easier to hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You're fine. So you say that, and then I'm trying to check the volume level.
Okay, I was just asking because I found my input for some reason was at 50, so I knocked it up by about 15.
You're fine on my side. Remember, I have to tinker with stuff on my side just a little bit anyway. I found the very important Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Drumhead. I found one of Captain Picard's great speeches. And I say it that way because they had a lot of great speeches. Their science fiction is littered with them all over the place. There are a number of them, from the Doctor to Susan Ivanova to Jean-Luc Picard. And he said this in the middle of basically, it's supposed to have been an inquiry where he's being questioned. And the person who's questioning him is basically browbeating him for things that were done with the use of his body, though he was not in control of it. I'm speaking very specifically of the Battle of Wolf 359, where Locutus of Borg, who had commandeered Jean-Luc Picard's body, laid waste to 39 starships at an average of 100 people per starship, as you can probably imagine. If they had run just skeleton crews on some of these as an average, the toll is large. So he's being browbeat about this and saying with crocodile tears, it must have been absolutely awful for you in the middle of all that. How many people was it that was killed? How many starships lost? 39, was it? All because of you? He said this. You know, there are some words I've known since I was a schoolboy. With the first link, the chain is forged. The first speech censured, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably. Those words were uttered by Judge Errand as wisdom and warning. Oh man. What he was laying at the feet of Admiral Nora Sati, that judge's daughter, was simply a way of browbeating her back in the most brutal way by saying, in all that you're trying to do, you are, in the words of your own father, a failure to his wisdom. So for right now, for just this right now moment, I think it's worth us kind of going back through some quotes that we've remembered to try to bring us hope, to bring us some measure of knowing that what we're doing is still right and good. Because there's a lot of shit that's going down. There's a lot. And I don't want to go through it all because we already see it in the news. Doesn't matter which news organizations we try to avoid even. I think it's a really good idea to recognize that we're doing the right things. And we're holding our own. So I think that's kind of important. So I'm opening with that. Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek The Next Generation. 7 seasons of this show. And the first 2 seasons, the first season, really hit or miss. Second season, still not great. But after that, wow, was this a good show. If you wanted to ever hear monologues from someone with the moral high ground almost every moment he's on, it's hard to beat Jean-Luc Picard in that respect. He was good. They wrote him well. Damn. Io, I'm wondering who you would like to kind of bring in, or if there is a quote that you'd like to throw in there, even if it's one that we have to kind of, go hunting for ourselves to make sure that we've got it right.
I do have one, but I have to get the book that I have in order to actually appropriately quote it.
You want to throw Tech under the bus for a couple seconds while you go hunting a little bit for the quote?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Tech, let's go ahead and have you start sucking on some diesel fumes while you're rolling around under that bus.
Every rose has its thorn.
Okay. So now you're throwing Bill and Ted in the mix. Great. Just great. You didn't think I'd remember that, did you?
Oh, I figured you would.
Well, one of us is thinking a little bit too low of the other then, and I do believe it would be me. Well, damn. All right.
You still riding that 5 roll on your D20?
A little bit. So yeah, go ahead and
I don't really have. I don't. I don't have a quote right now that comes to mind or anything like that. I truly am physically, emotionally, mentally exhausted. So many things between Gump, you know, Mr. Gump trying to force a government shutdown and all the other crap that's going on. Um,
Well, that's part of why I wanted to go with this, because there's got to be something where you just like, you're holding on to something.
It's my my son the other day mentioned, he saw the article about Russia and NATO essentially not quite declaring war, but declaring war, and but not quite declaring war. And he's worried that that's the beginning of World War III. And I'm like, hey, dude, um, it's not the beginning of the war. It's the war started when Russia invaded Ukraine. The war at home here started when Trump started locking down all the things and breaking all the rules. Um, when he started having ICE do bad things to people, when he started having the laws being broken, and putting in pawns so that nothing would come of it. It's been ongoing, and now that snowball has been picking up more snow and more speed, and now it's becoming more obvious. And it's going to get to a point where the people who were ignoring it can't ignore it. And it's going to be different groups at different times. So you're in an area where a lot of people are ignoring. But with the tariffs and everything else, I'm willing to bet you've already started hearing complaints and discontent and dissent and everything else. And you're going to hear shifting opinions. So what you need to do is keep your eyes and ears open, keep listening, take notes, know who's saying what and how they're thinking, because a lot of people are very willing to tell you what they think rather than listen to what other people think. A lot of people are willing to tell you how they feel rather than asking you how you are doing. But then you'll find those who do care how you feel and how you're doing. And those are the people who are going to need your support, because those are the people that are more empathetic towards others. And they need to be helped, they need to be protected, lifted up, whatever. Keep those people around you, and you'll find that your life improves through these very turbulent times.
That's fair. When we get around to it, I dropped something in the show notes for you. That I think that is going to suit you properly. It's the second one down. Io, how did you do?
Oh, I found the book. It is a dedication inside of the book Make Room, Make Room. Everybody else knows it as the movie Soylent Green.
Well, I've never seen it.
For your sakes, children, I hope this proves to be a work of fiction. And I put in show notes a couple of Venn diagrams, stuff, other books and movies. 1984, Lord of the Flies, Fahrenheit 451, The Matrix, Animal Farm, Logan's Run, Clockwork Orange, Gattaca, Brazil, Handmaid's Tale, Soylent Green, and A Brave New World. Did I miss anything? Matrix? No, I got The Matrix. Oh, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We're here, right in the middle of all that.
That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, we have a potential mothership coming in, depending on what conspiracy theories are saying about what's happening with Mars and 31 Atlas. We have apparently there was 2 supernovas that were seen from the southern hemisphere. It's just small ones, just tiny ones, but still waiting for Beetlejuice to go boom.
Soon.
So there's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Maybe they're finally showing up in mass. And then we've got food issues, Soylent Green. You know, it's getting to that point. I don't know all of these books or movies or whatever. Lord of the Flies, basically people are on their own trying to figure out how to redo society, and it's failing. 1984. Yeah, all those AIs that are now watching us on our computers, Google, Alexa, Siri, all the other ones. There's 1984. And now they want to hook us into the Matrix, essentially, with all these implants to monitor us. That's RFK Jr., I believe. The so-called Maha. Where am I wrong? Where am I wrong?
I don't believe that you are.
And I really have to read that book, too, because I've seen the movie. And yeah, it's essentially a cop drama with some science fiction thrown in on it. But I should read the book.
I found another one that I particularly like. It's one of those ones that has to kind of ruminate just a little bit, and it tends to come up a lot now. And Stephanie's gonna probably be a little chuffed for this one. It's The Doctor, the definitive article, you might say, from The Face of Evil, Part 4, which, of course, is Tom Baker back in the day, because for the vast majority of people who are still remembering when the Doctor was in black and white, he is the definitive article, quite literally.
Preach.
Where he says, you know, the very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't alter their views to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit the views, which can be uncomfortable if you happen to be one of those facts that needs altering. Oof. You know, just oof. And unfortunately, right now, we are very much living those moments. Especially if you happen to be the head of the group that reports to the American president on statistics, you know, things like employment figures.
You know, there was a brief period of time where intelligent people weren't demeaned, where the nerds and the geeks of the world started to be lifted up a little bit, because people realized, hey, these nerds, these geeks, these make these things, they make this stuff, they make these, all this stuff happen, these products and services and everything else, you know, maybe they're not so bad, and so on. I saw a brief moment of it in my lifetime. But I started with, as many of us did, being nerd, geek, you know, made fun of, beaten up, attacked every which way and everything else. And all I can think to myself is that pendulum has swung again. You know, anybody who's intelligent, anybody who's smart is beaten back by nonsensical data, by claims and emotions rather than facts and what's really happening, what's really going on. Except now there's more of the stuff that we gave them, that we've supported, to empower them to stay that way, to kind of reinforce that mentality. And all I can think is, if all the nerds and the geeks around the world united and said, you know what? No, we're taking this all away. We're shutting it all down. Try working without it. Try living without it. And let your stupid people that you've decided should be in power try to fix things. Watch it fall apart. And that's the cynical, angry side of me. You know, because I know also how that would harm everybody. But at the same time, when do we do that? When do we step back? When is the appropriate time? Because I'm one person. I can't forget making the call. You know, my judgment has to be in question. Skepticism has to be healthy. It has to be questioned. And I don't see the collective brains of the world getting together and having these conversations. Granted, if they are having them, I'm not invited, and for very good reason. I'm not a Mensa candidate, you know. At the same time, a lot of that wouldn't be, if there were meetings of the minds, they wouldn't go completely unnoticed. You know, there would be at least rumors going around going, hey, you know, the really smart geologists and the really smart physicists and they're having some regular meetings. You know, the general public isn't invited, but they're definitely talking about stuff. And I know technology wise, we could definitely implement some things could be implemented to allow them to do that across vast distances without physically meeting, more secure than, let's say, even our own government or other governments for that matter. But I would still hear whispers somewhere, at least with the field that I'm in. And I'm not hearing it. And that makes me worried that, you know, sometimes we're too smart for our own good. And it might, if we don't start sitting down having these conversations without all the stupid people around, and I don't mean the general public, I mean the people who are generally stupid, but in positions of authority. And here's what I mean by that, too. A quick example, just to keep it brief, and this is a hypothetical, so I'm not targeting any one person, anyone I know, or anyone who's famous. Just imagine that you have a person who is in charge of a project, and that person has no knowledge. They have only been educated on moving money around. But you know the project inside and out. You know all the technical details. You know the physics of whatever it is you're designing or engineering. You and your team have put their life and work into this, and they know how everything needs to be. Every domino has to line up for everything to work. And this bigwig comes down and goes, I don't like how that works. You're going to make it work this way. And if you don't, you're all fired. But it's impossible to make it work the way they want. Why is that person in charge when they have no idea what you're doing? That they have no idea what you're capable of or what the project's capable of? Why is it that they get to call the shot? They're not smart about it. They're ignorant of it. And when you go and have a conversation with them, you're the person who's been voted to talk to them because maybe you have the best interpersonal communication skills, and you try to educate them. They look at you and go, I don't care. Okay, willful ignorance. That's stupidity, in my opinion.
No, you'd be quite right on that one.
Well, we have a lot of that going around right now.
Yeah, true that. The one that I was just looking up, by the way, you're going to notice I have a very large collection of Star Trek trivia in my head, going back to the original series, the 60s. Errand of Mercy I think it's the first time that we actually end up seeing the Federation and the Klingons, I should add, having to deal with a society that is technologically vastly superior to either. And one of the characters, where is it over here? Illiborn, who is basically deriding both the Klingons and the Federation and saying, oh, eventually you will have peace, but only after millions of people have died. It is true that in the future, you and the Klingons will become fast friends. You will work together. And the Klingon captain there, Kor, shouts, never. Well, we know that changes over the course of a next generation and at least a couple of movies. But
especially in DS9 with the Dominion War.
Change happens. Things change. The pendulum swings. And things that you think are impossible could happen, both for good or for ill. And right now, we did not think something to this extent could happen. Some of us who were attentive knew that, bad things could happen. We just didn't realize just how bad, because, well, it's, how do we put it? It's hard for the Pebbles to have any say in what happens in the Avalanche. What else you got, Io? Because this is I'm going to try very hard not to make this an entire, Star Trek-y kind of thing. I'm sure that you've got something else.
Yes, it's Star Trek-y. Did you talk about Picard and the four lights?
I did not.
About how if you get gaslit enough, you will believe that there are 5 lights. Because he actually saw 5 lights, but he held on to 4 lights. He held on to it with a firm grasp. And right now, with everything that's coming from the current administration, we're being told that there are 5 lights.
We're being told there are 20.
That too.
And one of the bulbs is burnt out.
To his credit, though, Picard was being systemically tortured in many ways.
My point exactly. We are being systemically tortured.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. Sometimes, oh, for the love of Pete, really? I got to go ahead and I got to find this quote again. Let me find... There we go. No, that's the wrong one, because that's the movie quote. That's not the one that I want. J. Michael Straczynski, who wrote in one of the comics. Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mobs say. Doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else: the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move.
America was founded on one other principle: the right to stand up and tell your leaders, you guys are screwing up.
The First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America loosely translates as, we have the right to say what we want. We have the right to criticize the government all that we want. And the government is I'm trying to think of what the right wording would be. They are empowered to do nothing but take it. Because that's what the criticism is supposed to be there for. They are trying to get around that. They're trying to make an end run around that. The very first edition where somebody in the foundations said, well, you know, it's all well and good to have all these things that says the government will do this, the government do that. Well, how about things that the government are not allowed to do? And that's what's supposed to have happen. You are supposed to be able to say, you're screwing up, and I want my day in court to prove it. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm in a public location. I am doing exactly what I'm allowed to do. And if you don't like it, go pound sand. By the way, the one that I put in the host chat, the link in there, I was specifically referring to the second item down. I didn't know which one of you wanted to make reference to that one from Babylon 5.
No boom today. Boom tomorrow. There's always a boom tomorrow.
Susan Ivanova was a badass.
Oh, hell yeah. She still is, no matter what she's playing. And if I remember correctly, she was in, not Captain Power, the live action that had the robots that you could shoot if you had the right toy.
I do believe that was that.
That was Captain Power?
I do believe so.
Whatever. Tech.
What?
Help me. He wants us to quote something.
You know what? If you're not gonna pull one, I'll do it. I know it's late. It's tiring.
It's not that. It's just that with Babylon 5, there were so many things about politics. So many things have changed, hit home, wars, everything. It just, there were times you watched and you're like, oh, this is funny as heck. And there are times you watched and you're like, oh, that's so sad. And other times you were really angry. And other times it was really exciting. And it's just like, you know, it's constantly happening on this planet too. But the problem is that I honestly think that in many cases, what happened in a lot of these shows was ideal responses and ideal situations for setup and everything else because it makes for better entertainment. We don't have that. We don't have Nick Fury from Marvel. We don't have a Captain America. We don't have an Ivanova and so on. We have what we have, and
The closest thing
a
we
lot
have to
of the people who are trying to become, a Nick Fury or Captain Ivanova or Garibaldi or whatever, are getting defeated and destroyed before they even have a chance to get off the ground. Because the people in power are doing everything in their possible to destroy every single system that would allow any competition whatsoever.
the
Which is what you
closest
get
thing
in a dictatorship.
the closest thing we have to Captain America is Steve from Blue's Clues. The closest thing we have to Spider-Man, believe it or not, is Ryan Kelly from TikTok, the youth pastor. The guy that does. So, what you doing,
Hey,
bud?
Glock, what do you make?
Yeah. What do you make? What are you doing, buddy?
Oh, we here at General Electric, we just like things that spin. We like to clean things, like people off of the battlefield with things that spin. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, so just
Yeah.
damn it, we gotta add that one into show notes now, don't we? God damn it.
Yes.
I'll look it up later.
But Steve realized that not only do the parents need somebody to vent to that's non-judgmental and just sitting there to listen, but the kids as well. And I'm not talking little kids, I'm talking the Gen Zs that have just pretty much all come of age.
Well, unfortunately, the suicide rate amongst them is very high because they keep looking at what's going on and they keep looking and they don't see a future. And a lot of them are taking the quick way out. The statistics are up from previous generations. And it's really bad. And, it shows, it's a demonstration of what's going on in society here in the US. And I know some people are like, oh, they're just, you hear people call other people snowflakes or too sensitive or whatever. And it's like, look, part of the problem is the people that we have in power right now are people who are always told, man up, don't cry, don't show anybody your feelings. If you get cut, just rub some dirt on it, power through, you know, those old mentalities that generally cause more harm. It's one thing if you're a soldier in a field and you're trying to take a line and you get grazed by a bullet. Yeah, you power through that, because you're a soldier. But most people are not soldiers. Most people are not warriors. Most people are just people. They're trying to live their lives. They're trying to take care of their families if they have them. They're trying to take care of themselves. They're trying to pay the bills of all the rising inflation and taxation and everything else. Um, some are trying to better themselves. Some are just trying to get through to the next day and hope that they wake up the next day because of medical complications or whatever. And as more and more systems are destroyed by those in power to keep the pressure on and prevent their, any kind of competition to authority, it's just getting worse. And we don't have any other people in power who are truly doing the needful. Yeah, you can say what you want about Bernie and AOC going around and talking to people and everything else. But we don't have the kind of public outcry, at least yet, that can make a nation rise up. The people unite and go, no, we're not taking this anymore. We definitely here at this channel can't create that kind of, we don't have that kind of viewership or influence. And most other ones don't either. And the moment that some start trying to do that, well, we've seen what happened to Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and the rest. And the laws are changing again. It's not. I suspect that before I die, from natural causes, that is, I suspect that I will see the start of another civil war. That's what I feel based on the statistics that I'm seeing and reading, on the reports I read, on the analyses I read and listen to. It's not pretty. And there are things that could aggravate it. There are things that could prolong it out. There are things that could cancel it, the possibility of it happening. I mean, I'm not, what do you call it? The people who can see the future. I'm not one of them. And I've said before, I'm not a Mensa candidate. I am very possibly wrong, but I think there's a greater than 0% chance. And I'm not worried for me. I'm worried for my son. I'm a dad, I worry about my kid. And I'm worried for other people's kids. Not worried for me. I write letters. I call people, and send emails and vote. And I see it becoming less and less effective as every week goes by.
The one I was going to also drop in here, because sometimes quotes are good because they encapsulate a calming moment. Sometimes they give us, an appreciation for what's the word that I'm looking for here? Quote unquote the realities of the moment. For instance, the one from before from Ivanova, no boom today, boom tomorrow. There's always a boom tomorrow. Sometimes what you need is just a rally cry. And I think the most badass rally cry is one that doesn't need to be screamed. This is Ambassador Dalan of the Minbari. Babylon 5 is under our protection. Withdraw or be destroyed. Negative, we have authority here. Do not force us to engage your ship. This is arguably the most badass response ever laid to video. Why not? Only one human captain has ever survived battle with a Minbari fleet. He is behind me. You are in front of me. If you value your lives, be somewhere else. Holy shit. If you have never seen this, if you have never seen this exchange, the only thing, the literal only thing that I have a problem with is that this scene that I just spoke cuts immediately to the Earth Force ships turning around. They should have waited a few seconds, literally a few measly seconds before turning. It would have made all the difference in the world, because otherwise, as it is, she finishes saying be somewhere else, and they're turning around like they were ready to just run. This was an overwhelming force that was ready to go ahead and take complete advantage of the situation and absolutely take control of Babylon 5 by force. They should have waited just a couple of seconds to assess, oh crap, what do we do? I'm not waiting for acknowledgement from the High Council back home. I'm going home. It was...
Yeah, that moment of hesitation is very human, and it would have portrayed the... It would have made the audience think either A, they were all reconsidering their position, B, tactical command gave the order to, go ahead and turn around, or that they asked if they should still engage, and command went, nope. But it would have all been up to the audience's imagination, which would have enhanced the scene itself, yes.
Today was not a good day to die.
Yeah, but don't forget, they're also working in a time slot. And
agreed.
Those 3 seconds, they might have had to cut just to make sure that they didn't cut anything else,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. I remember the bulletin boards for Babylon 5 and all the conversations flying back and forth. JMS was under such tight constraints down to the millisecond, literally, when it came to some of these scenes. And the only way that that could have been quoted out better is if I had done Dalan's part and you had done Earth's part.
Yeah, well,
Be somewhere else.
By the way, I want to pick up something that Stephanie Wilson,
yes.
Stephanie said in chat. Mass protests, to quote, mass protests work. They got Kimmel back. He had the best audience ever on his first show. Absolutely. They work against corporations, but they don't generally work against our government. And to get a massive enough protest to work against the government to affect the people who are currently in power, it would have to be such a level that businesses, manufacturing, agriculture, everything shuts down to the point of where Trump's Secret Service can't even function, where none of the taxis, he can't go out and get a cheeseburger from McDonald's or anything, right? Because everything is shut down. And there are way too many people who are living barely paycheck to paycheck that they can do that. It has, and unfortunately, I don't think we'll see that unless they hit a point where over 300 million Americans have nothing left to lose.
I think one of the best ways, which, by the way, let's back up just a hair over here. For context, in case anybody missed it, Jimmy Kimmel made remarks about the current presidential administration and groups that are involved with and individuals that are comprising of such, and how they were doing things and why they were doing things, and complaining that they probably could have been doing it better. Am I over paraphrasing?
I think that's a really good summation. I think that's a really good summation, because what Kimmel didn't do is he didn't attack Kirk. He didn't attack his family. He attacked what other people were trying to do to attribute to the event, to attribute to the shooter before we knew more about the shooter, to try to force a narrative that did not yet exist because we didn't have all the facts yet. And of course, that the people in authority took a lot of offense to that, because he called them out. And in my opinion, rightly so. If the Democrats had done that, I would have expected him to go after the Democrats too.
Yep.
We expect
and I'm not
those
talking about the people on the internet. I'm talking about, like, if Nancy Pelosi had stood up in front of a podium and said, this happened because, and then they blamed every single conservative out there, right? Or everybody who is registered as a Republican. If she did that, yeah, I would have expected, Jimmy Kimmel and the rest of them to go after her for that. But she didn't do that. She also didn't call for all the Republicans to be have something bad happen to them, like another politician did, except on the other side. It's and the mass protest worked because it was against Disney. I mean, it was the protest against Disney was so bad that, and for those who don't know, Disney owns Hulu. The cancellation system on Hulu crashed because so many people were flooding Hulu with cancellations. I mean, hell, I even canceled my Hulu account.
Normally, when I go down the main street right in front of Disney day or night until about 10-ish p.m., it's packed with tourists. Doesn't matter season either. It's packed with tourists. It's packed with parents with kids. sometimes it's worse packed. It was pretty empty when I went down for my D&D game last weekend, and there was nobody. Like, normally the normal that was supposed to have been there wasn't there, especially on a weekend. It should have been packed. I should have been crawling through that area. It was
Yeah,
just too
well,
easy to
I
get
mean, there was
in.
an alert that was sent out to other countries that, hey, if you go to the States, there's a really good chance you could wind up in prison,
Mhm.
as well as being deported to a country that you never lived in.
There's other things that they're saying happened over at that I don't want to say the words, but at that camp, and I'm just I
The
start getting
alligator
very,
place.
yes, I start getting very angry because my grandfathers did not watch their buddies suffer and die for this to rise up again. Their great grandchildren are going to have to fight this war.
And I want to be very, very open here. I want to point out that I do not want to see our country reach a point where 300 million people have to stand up in mass protest. I do not want to see a point where every single service, industry, and process shut down in this country. I don't want to see that, and I am not advocating for it because the concept of it, the repercussions of that happening, even if a good change comes from it, the amount of harm that will incur during that time will be epic. And I don't want to see that happen to people. I really, really don't want to see that happen to people. It's like the shooting of Charlie Kirk. I didn't like what he had to say. I didn't like the things that he preached, but never in a million years would I advocate that somebody physically end the man just because I disagreed with him. That's unacceptable. Not when you have a country that preaches freedom of speech. That action is unacceptable.
Now, hold on. I want to make sure that we're very clear about something, because what he just said, taken the way that it is, needs to be clarified. And I'm saying very clearly, needs to be. What was done was not a governmental actor. It was a private citizen. So I want everybody to understand that what we're describing is person-on-person violence, not government silencing speech. That's a very different piece. However, neither one should be acceptable in a civilized society. And I'm saying it that way for a very good reason.
Yeah,
There's
and
an
I agree with that statement.
There is
I,
a point, unfortunately, where, as we have been told, violence is the only language left to the unheard. I don't want that to be the case. However, like with Ivanova, sometimes you have to simply recognize the futility of anything else and just accept that there's going to be bad that's going to have happen, and just hope to hell that you can be in some way able to mitigate the harm that's going to happen to those that are caught in the blast radius. Because chances are those who are at the epicenter are getting what they deserve.
And we're not the ones, yeah, and to clarify, again, we are not advocating violence towards others.
Exactly.
What history has shown us is that when enough people are having their voices taken away and their avenues of trying to make things right are removed, and they feel that there is no other option, then humanity has a tendency to go towards those violent actions. not that we are seeking it, that it happens throughout history, and we know what those kinds of trigger events are because they're in our history books. Now, granted, with the way our education system in the United States works, not everybody learns all key points of history in the same way or from the same text. So there's a really good chance that there's a lot of people that are not familiar with these things. Many of us who were educated in the northern territories of the US do tend to learn about this, especially the northern East coastline. Those schooling systems do tend to teach a lot of those events. But I know that in some of these southern states, it tends to get cliff noted, and the details are not heavily dwelled upon. And that's from experience, from personal experience, as well as what other people have lived up and down on here on this Eastern Seaboard have told me from their personal experiences of their educational backgrounds and so on. And that's with regards specifically and strictly to public schooling. I'm not bringing private schooling into this because that's a whole nother kettle of fish.
Io, if you've got something that you were going to say, there's two pieces that I got to. So if you got something right here.
I've been trying to say stuff, but I get steamrolled. I'm still having breathing problems, which means talking problems.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. It's my own. I was at Five Below within the last 2 weeks, and I bought 2 very interesting books, and I'll take a photo of it for later. One of them is a copy of the Constitution of the United States, and the other is the Federalist Papers. So they're at Five Below, as well as some other books that were very interesting that I was thinking about buying too. But those 2 at Five Below, a copy of the United States Constitution. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. I think every single household should have the Constitution at the least. Because if you don't know what's in your Constitution and the amendments, I don't even know what's in half the amendments other than a couple of them. If you don't know what's in the amendments, how can you protect them? How can you fight for your rights? How can you make sure that stuff doesn't get removed or restricted? And I was listening to Schoolhouse Rock earlier today, and it was the preamble. General welfare. General welfare. I guess that means that healthcare is part of the Constitution. General welfare. Healthcare. It's the same thing. Because if your citizens are not well and they're not cared for, how are they supposed to be able to work for you? How are they supposed to help? How are they supposed to pay their taxes? How are they supposed to generate income in order to pay taxes? Or for that matter, to generate income in order to have taxes, in order to have to pay. I love that. It's frustrating. I've actually been told that I should not stand up at City Hall anymore and say what I want to say, because if I say the wrong thing, the next day would probably be a knock on the door, and my life would turn very icy and very cold.
Stephanie's got a couple of things over here in the chat that I make reference to, and I'm going to lump it all together because it's kind of works out that way. Here we go. And this kind of goes back a little bit, but worth it. Mass protests worked. They got Kimmel back. He had the best audience ever on his first show. We mentioned about that. Also want to make another mention about that one, that there was an attempt by at least one company that owns a very large number of broadcast houses across the United States to try to preempt the show on their stations. That didn't go well. So protests do work. It may take time. It may take a little bit of coordination, but yes, they do. Continuing on from there, agriculture has shut down. They cannot get the workers they need, and they have lost their foreign markets. Not to mention the dire state of tourism in the U.S. Wow, that is more accurate than you realize. The latest by-election returned a Democrat with a massive majority. Also true. Disney is ignoring Taco. They are not the only ones. However, they are fewer than we'd like. And judges are throwing out Taco's cases because they are little petulant boy screaming matches. And that's fine by us. They can go away.
Well, apparently his suite in Windsor Castle that he was allowed to stay in was trashed by him. Talk about low class.
You're assuming that there is even a barometer measurement that could explain just how low they could get. There's an interaction from a not science fiction, but a fiction TV series that every once in a while I go back to. I've got the DVD set, but it's easier for me just to pull it up on my home server because, well, that's what home media servers are for. The West Wing. I know, it's a fictionalized version of what America could be and how the government could be a functioning group of people, which in and of itself is an incredible juggling match. The episode in question, and again, I will have these listed and linked in show notes, is from the episode Game On. And the president, Jed Bartlett, is having a debate with Governor Robert Ritchie from Florida. The question is, the moderator goes ahead and asks him, Governor Ritchie, many economists have stated that the tax cut, which is the centerpiece of your economic agenda, would actually harm the economy. Is now really the time to cut taxes? This is a little bit long, so just bear with me. Governor Ritchie responds, my view of this is simple. We don't need a federal Department of Education telling us our children have to learn Esperanto. They have to learn Eskimo poetry. Let the states decide. Let the communities decide on health care, on education, on lower taxes, not higher taxes. Now, he's going to throw a big word at you. Unfunded mandate. He's going to say if Washington lets the states do it, it's an unfunded mandate. But what he doesn't like is the federal government losing power. But I call it the ingenuity of the American people. The moderator takes over, says, President Bartlett, you have 60 seconds for a question and an answer. Reminding you all, this is fictionalized. As Tech stated, we don't have people who are great orators, and they're very often seem to be getting shut down very early, very quickly, very brutally in some cases. However, this fictionalized answer is a thing of just beauty. President Bartlett responds as such. Well, first of all, let's clear up a couple of things. Unfunded mandate is 2 words, not one big one. There are times when we're 50 states, and there are times when we're one country and have national needs. And the way I know this is that Florida didn't fight Germany in World War II or establish civil rights. You think states should do the governing wall to wall. That's a perfectly valid opinion. But your state of Florida got $12.6 billion in federal money last year from Nebraskans and Virginians and New Yorkers and Alaskans with their Eskimo poetry. 12.6 out of a state budget of 50 billion. I'm supposed to be using this time for a question, so here it is. Can we have it back, please? We are one country at times, and other times we are 50 individualized states, or 52. Sometimes we are who only knows how many counties, or municipalities, or school districts, or households. You know, when all is said and done, there's supposed to be this cohesive idea that the United States of America is, when all is said and done, united. Yeah, there's some bits and pieces here and there where there's a difference in accent of how groups do things, but ultimately we're supposed to be working towards the same thing. For instance, it wasn't New York that went to the moon. It wasn't Florida. And it wasn't, for all intents and purposes, Ohio. But Grumman Plants in New York helped build pieces that went to the moon. A lot of astronauts came from Ohio, and Florida had the facility for launching those rockets. Those individuals didn't go. The country went. Hell, the world went.
I was just about to say that.
So when we have these groups who are saying, we want to do it and we want to be the only group that does whatever it is, no. Add your voice to the chorus. Look to what the future is going to be by what you do. And decide if it's the right thing to do, based on how many get things better. And too damn many of these hyper-nationalist groups are thinking that so long as I get mine, fuck y'all. And I really hate saying that, but like I keep saying, in a lot of ways, tell me where the lie is. And I apologize for monologuing a bit, but, you know, my show, I'm allowed. Stephanie's also pointing out the latest case, meaning of Taco's cases, was thrown out without looking at any defense, as it was such nonsense, by a judge who was appointed by George H. Bush the elder. You know, when a judge looks over your complaint and says, Mr. Defense Lawyer, you can just go ahead and take it easy. I got this one. Yeah, that's a day where the clock starts ticking on whether or not the courts are going to finally say, you are now sanctioned and you are no longer allowed to file frivolous lawsuits. You bring it directly to me, and it better be good, or you're going to get sanctioned harder. I can only hope.
I can't wait.
I can only hope.
I've been hoping that some of the complainants in some of the other cases, they actually took up and put liens on, like, Trump Tower, Trump this, Trump that, Mar-a-Lago, you know, but it hasn't happened yet. But I can still hope. I can still hope.
Yeah.
Canadian news.
Yeah, the QEW sucks. Sorry, that's all.
That too. Martin Charest pleaded guilty to fatally assaulting Robert Picton with a broken broom handle at the Port Cartier Maximum Security Federal Penitentiary in 2024. I did it for the victims. I did it for the victims, not for myself. Picton was
Go ahead.
Picton was a notorious killer of women. People could probably look up the Picton pig farms. I wouldn't recommend it. It's very. You think Dahmer's messed up? Picton was worse.
Okay.
And yeah. And he was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder in 2007 and 49 women he admitted to. This is Robert Picton.
So this other inmate did things to the guy and... Huh.
Because he was coming up for parole.
After how long?
I don't know all of the details, but...
I'm going to guess not long enough.
Yeah, not long enough. Well, he was convicted in 2007, 2006, 2007. I remember seeing all the news reports. I remember this. I remember that. It was hellacious in Canadian news, especially in the Vancouver area at the time. And my opinion about Charest is that, because he himself has a lengthy criminal record and he's admitted to doing this murder in prison, is that the judges shouldn't slap a single extra moment of time onto his sentence.
I don't know nearly enough about this particular situation to comment on it, but at face value, I will say as much as I believe the expression is, I do not wish ill upon any man, but there are certain obituaries I would read with satisfaction.
Oh, I did read it with very much satisfaction. I knew somebody that worked at the Downtown East Side Women's Center who knew some of the women that disappeared.
So noted.
So I was 1 or 2 jumps away from talking to people and knowing people that had disappeared.
Knowing that we got about a little under 10 minutes to get done out of over here, and I'm gonna need to do sooner than later. We're gonna see about rolling up over here. Tech, you got any last thing briefly to drop in here? I'm sorry I said it that way.
I think I've said my piece. We know where I stand. I just, for anybody who's listening to this, be aware, I'm not a gun-toting American. I don't own a gun unless you count Nerf dart pistol. You know, that's about as close as I get to it. You know, I'm not somebody who's going to go and do something that would get himself locked up. I have too many people I have to care for. And I could not afford to be in prison. So going out and doing something reckless, stupid, endangering human life, things like that, it's not something I do. And I don't want other people doing that either. You know, I really don't. My vision of the future is that the worst thing that people have to deal with is knowing what career field they want to go into, or what to have for breakfast, or what gift to get a friend or loved one, or, you know, they're taking vacation, but they're not sure what part of the world they want to see. You know, that's the kind of life I want for everybody. I don't want this kind of crap that's going on right now. And I know I can't go out and change it by myself. So don't, if you're listening, don't think that you have to do it either like that. Don't become a shooter. Don't become a bomber. Don't become these people. You know, keep talking with your friends, your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, acquaintances, even random strangers. But if you're going to talk to them, it has to be a two-way street. You also have to listen to them. You don't listen so that you can inject your viewpoint and change theirs. You listen to understand their viewpoint. And then you see where yours and theirs meet up. And you point out that common ground. Because I guarantee, because if a black priest can walk into the main bar of the KKK and they can find common ground, you can do it with your neighbor. Okay? And I don't even know if that guy's still alive or not. I think he may have passed from old age. I'm not sure. But his story was amazing. You know, just the brass cojones to walk into a biker bar of a known KKK biker bar, white supremacist biker bar, and him going, you know, we have things in common. Here I am. And actually not convert them towards a religion, but convert them to question why they were being racist. You have that power too, but you can only do it by listening to the people that you have a difference of opinion with. You can't shout them down. You can't cancel culture them. You have to listen. Granted, you're going to encounter many, if not a few, who there is no amount of talking and discussion that you can have with them that will ever have them see that commonality, let alone spring a favorable relationship, possible conversion of mentality with. But that's okay. All right? We're all different. But you'll find the others. But remember, it's a two-way street.
Any last for you?
I found the movie on Wikipedia, and the guy is still alive. He's 72 years old. Ron Stallworth. Found his short bio on it too.
You must have rolled a nat 20 on your Google search.
My Google foo is strong.
What last
That
item
also
you
was
got?
a good movie.
Be safe out there. If I'm starting to have second thoughts about even being on this program, let alone speaking out in public, or for that matter, going to the next No Kings March, October 18th, Saturday, October 18th. I bet you there's other people that are scared to speak out because of what's happened, because of disappearances, and more. Disney was a good start. We could have gone deeper. 3.8 billion, I think they lost overnight, pretty much. That was a good start.
That's fair. I'm gonna finish us off with this. We take inspiration wherever it is that we take it from. For some of us, it's uplifting, it's nurturing, it's for trying to find the betterment of peoples. I know some people are going to get on my case for it, for using a plural. It's the right word for it. Peoples. There are very few individuals who we've been able to have that kind of inspiration from. Usually it's groups. Science fiction, it's a bunch of writers. Any fiction, it's usually a group of writers. It's very rarely an individual. Even the quote that I had for Captain America from J. Michael Straczynski, who, great writer, incredibly good writer, still gets help because he works in conjunction with a whole bunch of other people. But I think it is fair to say that of all of the few people, maybe even singular people, I think it's fair to make mention to Fred Rogers again, because it's really hard to get through this world, get through this life without having been influenced by his soft demeanor and his heartfelt hope. If nothing else, take one line that he said over all others. And not even, "I love you just the way that you are," because he famously said that many, many times. What he said that I think is most notable in these times: look for the helpers, because they're out there. I'm slightly paraphrasing it, but that's what he said. Look for the helpers. Sometimes that helper is us, and we don't even realize it. It's just a slight burden that we've got for being who we are, because we can. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be somebody in the grocery line at the register is a few pennies short. Sometimes it's somebody needs a welcoming voice, and you can do it. Sometimes it's just leaning down to pick up a poor kid who fell off the swings. We make a difference. We are the difference. And it's tough to see from the inside what's happening. Just trust in the process. Just do good. Because what else are you going to do? Could be like me and just end up crying. And that's okay too. We need to go because I'm not going to be able to hold it together for very long at this rate. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to think about for the week ahead. Again, thank you for not being too upset that I took last week off. It was a good visit in Toronto. I'll have a little bit more to talk about it another time. Over in the chat, Stephanie, thank you. Glad you were able to make it. You have yourself a restful morning, and hope things stay well for you over there. Be safe. Io, thank you, hon. Glad you're able to make it. You take very good care of yourself and be safe.
I'm going to have a fun few days coming up. So yeah, being safe is exactly what I need.
That's fair. Thanks, hon. Tech, you take care of yourself. Stay warm, because the cooler weather is coming now, and just thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well, I've been watching Max Velocity on YouTube. He's a weather forecaster that covers severe weather storm systems. Honestly, I think this guy should be on like every weather station across the states when it comes to severe weather storm patterns for the U.S. He's amazing. And he's pointed out that we're going to see very high highs this winter season here in the U.S. So I don't think it's going to get that chilly. In fact, I'd be very surprised if my area even sees any snow. On the other hand, we do have those hurricanes incoming, so I'm pretty much, it's already raining where I'm at. And Monday's right around the corner, so it's going to get really interesting.
So long as it's not raining Sharpie pens, it doesn't really much matter now, does it?
That's oddly specific.
Can't imagine why I might have actually drawn on that particular joke. I'm sorry, I'm not being too obtuse here, am I?
You rolled a 6. I'm not laughing.
You don't have to laugh. I'm having a good time of it.
Yeah, that's the point. You're having a good time.
Say goodnight, Shu.
Thank you all for being with us. If you'd like to be in touch with us, of course, easiest way and probably quickest is over on the Discord channel. More than happy to help you out over there. But you can find us also over on BlueSky and Facebook. I know, but it's legacy at this point. What can I do? And we can see what we can do about helping you out. In the meantime, of course, until the next time we're together, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Fuj, 20 years and some actual introspection recently. But I'm still in love. Well, not today, Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone. As always, good night.